Good morning. Welcome to the International Mastermind live show. We come to you every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and we're streaming in various forms from Facebook to YouTube to StreamYard. But I tell you, today we have a wonderful show for you, and I am Ersula Odom, your primary host for this morning. And before we get started, I am going to introduce the other co-hosts, and they are Galen Bingham, Ann McNeil, and Mr. Dr. Peter A. James. So would you all introduce yourselves and then we'll get started.
Yeah, my name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist, CEO of Kill Global Coaching, and this is one of my favorite times of the week when we get to hang out with smart people and talk about this incredible success formula compiled by Napoleon Hill. And I can't wait to get into this discussion about faith. Not only is this a really, really important chapter and topic, the guest is absolutely amazing. I'm absolutely going to learn a lot. So I got my pad and pencil ready. Let's get into it.
All right.
Good morning. Ann McNeil. Yes, Dr. Peter A. James. Hi, my name is Ann McNeil, and I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping to build stronger and better lives and businesses with these principles. And I'm extremely excited today because absolutely, without a doubt, this will be a show to remember. So faith without works is dead. Just remember, you must work it for it to work for you.
Yeah, folks, good morning. Dr. Peter A. James here, and I will piggyback on Ann McNeil. Faith without works is dead, and we are working here for you this morning. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach, helping you to shift your mindset. And today, I'm hoping that you shift your mindset a little bit towards faith, because we have such a special guest today who's going to dive into how faith has been manifested in her life. So Ersula, I am so excited for this conversation overall.
Thank you, Peter. And so am I. And I'm CEO of Sula Too, and we make old new in everything that we do, in that we capture, preserve, and present legacy information in any form possible. And that's why I get excited about a show like today, because this person, Miss Dolores Presley, has done it all. And we get to hear about how that manifests itself, how her life has and her journey has evolved using faith or the principles of Think and Grow Rich. It's just amazing. And today's topic faith is very important to me, because that happens to be the chapter that I came into awareness of the value of it in my life. Now, I've had faith in God. I've had faith in a whole lot of different things before. But when I saw the self-confidence formula that said, I know I have the ability. So it helped me understand that you got to take that ability and add the faith in yourself to be able to take action to make those things happen, to realize the desires of your life. So I love this chapter, and I look forward to the conversation this morning. So who are we talking about? Our guest today is Miss Dolores Presley. And she is an international keynote speaker, published author, and life coach with more than 3 decades of experience. She is president of Dolores Presley Worldwide and the founder and executive director of She Elevates, a nonprofit organization created to empower girls to become confident leaders and entrepreneurs and CEOs. As a former elementary school teacher and a pioneer in the plus-size fashion and modeling industry, Dolores has inspired and helped thousands to leverage their leadership voice, be confident, have a powerful presence, and live their most marvelous life. Her writing skills are notable, and as she has published many articles on inspiration, confidence, and empowerment. She is the author of Clean Out the Closets of Your Life, Believe in the Power of You, and Empower. She is the spokesperson for Humanitarian Hands Charities. Dolores has worked at various levels of numerous top-notch organizations such as Coca-Cola, Rowe Pharmaceuticals, Procter & Gamble, Kellogg, American Heart Association, Vidant Health, Kirby Vacuum, Bakerfield Women's Conference, and Union Pacific Railroad. She has received many awards and recognition for her work, including Elite Businesswoman Award, Smart Business Magazine Award, and the Top 10 Business Owners by the National Association of Women Business Owners. Named Top 50 Visionary 2019 by Radical Business Magazine, and was a recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama. Dolores is a former chairperson of the ABCD Incorporated, the board of directors of OJ Entertainers. The board of directors of OJ Entertainers Scholarship Committee board member, and past president of National Speakers Association, Ohio's chapter. Furthermore, her story has been touted in Speaker, Glamour, Washington Post, Black Enterprise, Essence, Ebony, and Marie Claire. She is a frequent media guest and former host of a TV show, A Purposeful Life. She has appeared on the Bravo TV network, Married to Medicine, TCT network, and has been interviewed on every major network, including Entertainment Tonight and Oprah. So, what will we hear today? Welcome to the show, Miss Presley.
Thank you. You can call me Dolores, and I didn't realize you're going to read all of that. But I am thankful to God for all of that.
I was thinking about that. I said, this is a lot, but what could I have left out? Not a thing. Any one of those things could allow someone to relate to you. And I said, okay, just do it, because it's a fascinating life. So how do you tell that story?
Well, my life started with, I think my whole empowerment and faith and everything started with a little girl. And many people have heard my signature story of wanting to be a ballerina more than anything around age 6. I mean, I'm serious. I would take a sweater and tie it around my waist. My best friend and I, which by the way, she is still my best friend many, many years later. But when my mom got there to sign me up for ballet, they made her sign me up for tap. And I'm so glad, because they crushed me then. And my whole life has just been where people just constantly crush me. When I tell my guidance counselor in high school, I want to be going to college and I want to be a teacher. And she's like, Dolores, you're not quite college material. Oh my goodness. So, but of course, I ended up going to school and being an elementary teacher for 27 years. And then let's fast forward a little bit. After I go to college, I want to start a modeling agency for plus size women. Now, modeling agencies were everywhere, but 30 years ago, not for plus size women. So here we go. Again, someone telling me what I can and cannot do. So I want people to know that you can, no matter what the obstacles are. And believe me, faith has played a humongous part of my journey for sure.
And speaking of faith, as far as Think and Grow Rich is concerned, what resonated with that? I mean, with you from the chapter? What's your aha as it relates to the book?
My aha is that faith is so important. And I know Ann and both Dr. Peter just said faith without works is dead. And so one of the things it made me think about with my husband was diagnosed with leukemia. And the doctors told him that he had 1 year to live. And pretty much he had to have a bone marrow transplant. He's an only child, so therefore you're not going to have a sibling. That's where most people get their bone marrow from. And I was thinking about when I was reading that, that just kept coming back to me. But the point is, that was about 28 years ago, and my husband is still living. But let's talk about faith without works. So the doctor that told my husband that he had less than a year to live, pretty much get your life in order and you're going to die, we never went back into that office again. So that was part of our works. We said we have to find a doctor that believes in my husband being able to be healed, and he is totally cancer-free, no leukemia, 27, 28 years ago to this day.
How wonderful. I have to tell you, when you said that, it reminded me of when I went to a doctor at age 30, and he told me that my condition was because I was getting old. I never looked at him again either, because I was not fine that I was old at 30.
Right.
So when you look at all that you have done, what are some of the examples of where others have exhibited faith, maybe in where they could not have imagined that they would survive, other than what you just said too? I mean, that's the ultimate example there. But in business world, what do you have some examples there?
Well, sure. I work with a lot of women. I coach women who want to be speakers. I coach women who want to grow their business. And so I just really have like a business life type of coaching that I work with women. And one of my clients, Shalon Barnett, man, she's spoken all over the world, Dubai and everything. But when I met her, she barely spoke above a whisper. I mean, really above a whisper. And I talked to her about faith, and she had to believe in herself. That is so, so critical. And I obviously believe in a higher power, and we talked to her. And now, as I said, she is speaking all over the world. She does a Facebook Live about fear. She started a group home for women. I mean, and here we're talking about someone who couldn't speak above a whisper. So yeah, faith and doing some work, it works.
I saw a video just this past week that has left a mark on me, and it was Serena Williams being interviewed at age 12 by someone, and the person said to her, asked her if she could beat the person that she was about to play. And she said, with all confidence in the world, yes. And then he said, you sure? And she said, yeah. And he said something else, questioning her belief. And her dad stepped in and said words I cannot repeat at this point in time. But he said, cut that out. He said, she told you that she could do it, and you're going to walk her faith down. You're going to walk her confidence down. You're talking to a 12-year-old. And that was profound for me. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, yes. Hopefully I wouldn't have said any choice words, but I definitely know that you have to have the belief, because it's ingrained in you. And if you don't have that belief, then you might as well just, not even do whatever you want to do. If you don't believe that you can do it, I mean, all those people who said to me all those things I cannot do, I believe that. And I've always been overweight. And my mom used to tell me I shrunk my shoulders over, and she'd do kind of like their dad. She was like, Dolores, stand tall, love who you are. You are beautiful. So yeah, you have to have the belief. If you don't, because your subconscious, as they talk about in the book, your subconscious will work for you in the positive or the negative. Mm-hmm. I have a friend, I was talking to him yesterday, just saying, look, you have to, because he's ill. And he's like, you think I can bring illness on? And I said, unfortunately, I do think that, because you have to have the faith. Think about my husband. And he just said, okay, I'm just going to die. Like that doctor said, he probably wouldn't even be here today. Right. So you have to believe it and say it strongly. Yes, absolutely. I'm so proud of her father for saying that.
Me too.
Not choice words, but definitely once you believe it, and you have to you can't let the naysayers. I mean, that's all I have encountered is so many toxic people. When you encounter toxic people, just say hello and goodbye.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're talking about faith, and that's a part of a bigger picture. It's a part of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's 13 steps for success. And it's about time that we hear the rest of the story. How does faith fit in? And we have a video that we show you to help you see that and to remind us of how it fits as well.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us. Use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
Thank you. We have some people that are watching this morning, and I'd like to say hello to them. Imelda Wallace, who was our guest from last week, is back. Hello, and she says good morning. So good morning to her, and that's an honor to have you return and watch the show this morning, and you can also participate. And we have another Facebook watcher that says, faith is the victory. And there's also someone that was impressed with your bio and wanted to hear the rest of the story. So the more that you want to tell, Ms. Presley, you certainly can. At this point, I'm going to stop being the only one asking you questions and allow my co-host to join. And we'll start with Mr. Galen Bingham. Good morning, Galen.
Well, good morning. And Dolores, yes, impressive background and just experiences that you've had. I'm always curious because one of the things that Napoleon Hill highlights, particularly in this chapter, is that thoughts that have been emotionalized go directly into your subconscious. And you told a lot of emotional stories about what happened to you when you were a small child. And as small children, we don't have the same kinds of defenses that we have, hopefully that we have as adults. So I'm curious, how do you guard your mind against those negative thoughts that we all have from time to time? But I've learned that the more successful people, they're just able to bounce back faster when they have those negative thoughts. So how do you do it, right? How do you keep those negative thoughts from taking root in your life and going directly into your subconscious?
Galen, I literally talk to myself and I say, stop it, Dolores. So really, because we have a choice, we can let those negative thoughts, and I mean, I have had them too. I mean, I'm human. So, but when they do, and I sometimes tell my audiences when I'm giving keynote speeches to speak out, say their name, and say, stop it. And that gives your mind a few seconds to shift to the positive. So that is what I do. And I think it's also important that we surround ourselves with people who pour into us. And of course, we pour back into them. I have a motto of carry as you climb. So are you taking other people with you? I'm taking other people with me. And on those days when I might be like, oh, who motivates the motivator? Then I have those type of people around me who I can call and who will pour into me.
Yeah, boy, very, very great advice and very important. You know, one of the things that I share with a lot of my clients is that you got to take this thing seriously, right? I mean, this is not something that you can just roll out of bed on Tuesday and expect things to go your way. Another thing that Napoleon Hill talks about is that success comes to people who have become success conscious, and failure comes to people who, through indifference, just allow their lives to become failure conscious. So it doesn't take anything for failure to come into your mind, but success requires work. What would you say to people that get the question, that give you the question that I get a lot? This is just about making money, right? This book is just about making money. It doesn't really apply to, how does this apply to the really important things in life? What would you say to them?
I say this book is about making life. It is not about, I mean, of course you can make money, and I talk about affirmations, but I don't really call these things affirmations. I call them faith-amations. So what I do is I put my faith and I affirm it. And it has happened so many times. Talk about being on Oprah. I use faith-amations. People told me there's no way you will get on Oprah. You need to hire this agency and sometime a big marketing agency. And I called one, they were like, oh, it's $25K. I'm like, at the time, I didn't have $25K to pay them, but I used my faith and I affirmed it on a daily basis. So this book is about life. It's not. If you want your life, you should read it. One of the chapters is persistence, and I call it like just being resilient and having tenacity. And I was just talking about Oprah. I sent her materials like 2.5 years before they called me. But how many people would have given up after the first time they sent something? I just kept on. Persistence, baby. I was on there.
I love it. I love it. I might have to kidnap you and bring you into my crew, because that's the kind of energy I need to have. And then last thing, I mean, when you talked about surrounding yourself with people that will keep you on the same track, that will keep you motivated, keep your mind right. I'll tell you, one of the people that I turn to for that is Dr. Peter A. James, and I know that he's got tons of questions because he hits me with those questions. So I'm gonna turn him loose on you.
All right.
Turn me loose, huh? That's good stuff there, Galen. Good questions. Actually, you stole a couple of my questions, but that's quite all right. Dolores, good morning again to you, and thank you so much for joining us today as we dive into this faith chapter of Napoleon Hill's phenomenal text here. And I love your story and all that you have overcome. And I just really see the evidence of faith, even just by Ersula reading your story and then hearing you even just follow it up a little bit. In page 44 of the text, it says faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion. And then I'm going to go far as to say that autosuggestion, according to the dictionary, is almost a hypnotic or subconscious adoption of an idea that one has originated for oneself. So what do you think people who maybe don't overcome challenges, maybe don't have strong faith, what might they be lacking relative to autosuggestion, relative to just faith in general, maybe from a biblical sense, but even faith, as you know, what might they be lacking, but what also might be some suggestions from you?
Oh, absolutely. I think the thing that they may be lacking is surrounding themselves with people who have faith, surrounding themselves. So I had a strong background of faith. My mom took me to church from, being a baby. So I have that faith, but surround yourself with those people. Find people who have faith and see the evidence. I mean, I can go on and tell you so many stories of even myself when I wasn't able to give birth to a baby and very young in my marriage. And I tell you, I could have been on the floor and I could have been still crying 40 years. Well, I've been married over 40 years, but anyway, 40 years later, I could still be on the floor. But I know I took my faith. I read stories of other people, read books, fill yourself. Be careful what you're putting into your mind. Your mind is so powerful. It's so powerful. So I say to those people, find people of faith, read amazing books, see the evidence of faith, and try faith.
That's great, because it's easy for the mind to be attracted to negativism, whether it is from media, social media, others who you may think have our best interest in mind, but often may be spewing negativity to a certain extent. So I love how you've mentioned, paying attention to who's surrounding you and hoping that they have that positivity, that faith, those, and also combined with those affirmations, combined with the great reading, that's phenomenal overall. And it sounds like you've overcome a breadth of situations, scenarios that we can all even point to and say, yeah, if Dolores can do this, I need to listen to how she's overcome that. Ann McNeil, she between Galen and Dolores' responses, I don't have too much left because she's just kind of sealed the deal on what I need to do. What do you think?
Well, Galen and Ersula and Peter, Dolores is a very special person for me. And actually, Dolores, in my NSA days, I've always admired your faith walk. Not just your talk, but your faith walk. And so my first question for you is, how did you come in contact with this book and this philosophy? At what point in your life were you? And if you can share with us that story.
Oh, yes. I have an autographed copy from Guess who? And it was autographed on May 22nd, 2014. And that's when I had heard of the book before from Dr. Kimbrough and his part of the Black Choice. But when I really looked at this book, we were at Odyssey in 2014. And you gave me a copy of it, you signed it. And I'm like, I really need to look at this book and really apply those principles to my life. So that's basically when I started, when you introduced me to that book.
Well, I did not know that was going to be a response, but I'm excited to hear that. And I listened to what you're sharing this morning, talking about your faith walk. And my mom was a holiness minister. And just like you're saying about your mom and being in church, brought back memories. And my memory of faith in church was that faith is hearing and hearing and hearing the word. Can you share with us your experience early on in your business, how you use what your mom taught you from church and that faith walk, what you've read in the other book, that faith walk, then mix that with these principles, because many of us have watched you, in NSA grow and grow and grow. And so a lot of your journey that you're sharing, many of us have been here, I want to say been there with you. So can you give us a business example of how you've used your own faith to grow your business as it relates to this principle?
Absolutely. Almost every single thing that I do is involved with faith. So even before, and when I get clients and I'm working with women and coaching with them, I tell them that I have strong faith and that I believe in God. And I mean, I have different faiths that I work with, but I even pray before I start to work with my clients. Now, I don't pray with them on the phone or Zoom or anything like that, but I want the Spirit to lead me on how to help this person obtain success. And so very early, that's how I started. I guess I just don't know any other way than to use the faith, because I see it manifest all the time. I mean, you don't just get on Oprah. You just don't get on entertainment by yourself. Maybe people think they do. I don't know. But I know that my faith and asking God to help me and show me the way has helped me time and time and time again. And I'll say one other thing about that faith thing. So I hired a coach, and I spent, I want to say maybe $15,000 or something like with her. And she, after I got into it, I realized that she didn't really have faith. And she asked me to write a hate letter to God. Now, most of you just met me today, but those out there who don't know me, there is no way in blank that I am going to write a hate letter to God. So I use my faith. I'm like, God, I've spent all this money, but I'm leaving this lady. And I did. But one thing that I still, and there was something in that book about like every failure brings with it success.
The seed of an equal equivalent benefit, right?
There we go. That's it. So even though I felt like it was a failure, I had spent my money and didn't quit. Like after the second week, I'm like, lady, goodbye. But the point is that there was success in it. I thought, if this lady is charging this type of money and all the stuff that I give people, I raised my prices. So my mastermind was like, girl, you got a blessing out of that. So there you go. So I like that, a seed of equivalent success.
Exactly. Well, my final question is this, and I'll go back to faith being about hearing and hearing and hearing. What this book taught me, and I'm going to ask you the question about the reading, but what this book taught me and is teaching me about faith, about hearing and hearing and hearing the word. Now, we say the word of God. Faith comes by hearing the word. In church, we associate that with the word of God. But once I read this auto-suggestion chapter, the subconscious mind chapter, started memorizing the faith self-confidence formula. I then began to realize that it's words, going back to the point you made about the lady talking about writing a hate letter to God. And then I began to read other books that strengthened my faith. Can you share some books with our listeners that you've read that has helped to strengthen your faith?
Well, one of my favorite books is by Jack Canfield, and it's called The Success Principles. He doesn't talk a
Yes,
whole lot about faith,
yes.
but he gives the strategies, the principles of how you can achieve success. And as Galen had said, you have to have a conscious mind. You have to practice being successful and having faith. So that's one of the books that I really, really enjoy. I've read it many times over.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ursula. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, Peter, and Galen. We have someone in that's watching this morning, Flag Girl Manifesting. How does faith help those who are facing an illness or deep-rooted pain? And you touched on that and gave us a wonderful example, but maybe this is an opportunity to expand on it.
Yes, I say for sure, faith can help you with an illness. Now, especially, and I'm going back to God because I believe in God. I think that you have to continue. You have to continue having the faith, even though you're going through the challenges. And I'm not sure if you were here when I mentioned about my husband being ill and having leukemia. They said he's going to die. And, almost 30 years later, he's still here. But had we not had the walk of faith, so even though you're going through challenges, and we all do. So people say, Dolores, you're so successful, but hi, they didn't even know that here I couldn't give birth to children, and I want to do that more than anything. So we all have struggles. Many people are ill, but continue to praise, continue to thank God. And my assistant, and I don't even know if she's online or not, but she is a 3-time breast cancer survivor. And she just last year in January had breast cancer again. And we had the faith, and she is now cured of cancer again. So it is possible. Keep the faith. Do what you need to do with doctors. I said we walked away from that doctor, but obviously we went to another doctor. So keep the faith even in the middle of the struggle. It will help you. I guarantee it.
Okay, so there's one other thing that we often talk about that I would like Ann to come back on and connect the whole idea of taking responsibility for your own faith and your own future. So Ann, would you share with us what's coming up?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And we'll put it up on the screen. But Dolores, every year, at the beginning of the year, we host an annual meeting. And we talk about faith, but faith in what? And so we focus in 10 different areas of our lives: our spiritual, our family, our financial, our education, our health, our personal growth and development, our business, the recreational part of our life, the civic portion, and also the creativity. And we set goals for 6 months, 1 to 5 years, 10 years, and actually for myself, I'm in my 40th year of goal setting. So with that thought in mind, we host an annual meeting. I like to call it a tribunal of the life. Just imagine if you had to go before a tribunal and give an account for everything you said you were going to do the previous year. And that tribunal will determine whether or not you get another 365 days before you enter the new year. And I say that jokingly, but it is really serious when you really think about the fact that you're not going to get another day back, a month or a year, or even a moment of time. So if you were not writing down the goals that we aspire by faith, because it takes faith in order to achieve, we can sit here and talk about all of these things, but the emotion that you express when you talked about your husband, for example, You talked about wanting to be a ballerina, for example. And the emotion mixed with that faith is what gives us that burning desire. But the burning desire, if we're not writing it down and having specific plans and action steps and documenting it and tracking it, like you mentioned about your mastermind group, congratulations about that. But then how then do we actually go from achievement to achievement by faith, if you will? So this is what we do every year. We host an annual meeting for your life. And this entire year, we're focusing on the family. So the event in 2022 is going to be on January the 7th and the 8th. On the 7th, we host a reception. It's at the Boca Raton on Yamato Road at the Embassy Suites. And all day Saturday from about 8 till about 3, we have individuals that bring their life in writing. And so that's what we're focusing on all year. How do you hold yourself accountable? And I want to also add this too. The International Mastermind Association, which is hosting this event today, is the place of accountability for groups. So we're going to bring some details later, but I wanted to continue to talk about the fact that individuals are held accountable by their mastermind group. Okay. But who's holding the mastermind groups accountable? We are. And so we're creating a process and a system, and you're going to hear more about that. But I just want to just begin to see that and just encourage everybody. Think about having an accountability group. It can be as few as 2 or 3. It can be as many as you'd like to have. But those are the thoughts in regards to our annual meeting. Thank you, Ersula.
And thank you to the Master Builder. Also, good morning to you too, Lady D. Glad you could be with us. And it's you that makes us real happy about what we do, because when someone finds value in what we do, it's a good thing. So,
I've got another question I'm dying to ask. I'm dying to ask.
You're not dying to ask. No, you're living to ask.
So just listening to you today, I'm reminded of one of my longtime mentors in business passed away this past December. And one of the things that he used to say a lot is, what good is it to have great relationships in business if you never call on them, if you never leverage them? And just listening to you, I kept thinking, and I wrote this down, belief can be passive, but faith has to be active. What's the point of having faith if you never call on it? And so my question to you is, what have been some examples of times when you called on your faith because something that you were trying to do or something that you felt that you were supposed to do was so far beyond your physical capability, you just had to trust that it was going to be there when you got there? Can you think of anything? Because it's easy to think that all the success that you've had were things that you've trained to do and that were within your capability. What are some examples of where you've stepped way out on faith, and that's the only reason you had the guts to go into those places?
Well, believe it or not, I had, he wasn't President Trump at the time, but it was Donald Trump. So if you watch the old footages of Entertainment Tonight, Donald Trump had a beauty pageant and I had a pageant for plus size women. And so Entertainment Tonight contacted me and said, Donald Trump is going to dethrone his Miss Universe and we want you, Dolores, to talk to him. And my mother was saying, God rest her soul, she was like, Dolores, you cannot go up against Donald Trump. And I said, Mom, I have the Trump of all Trumps. I have God and my faith that I got on Entertainment Tonight and I told Donald Trump and everyone else who was listening that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, because, we said if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. So we have to stand for something. So I had to stand and say, I believe that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, and you should not dethrone her because she gained too much weight. But it was probably a publicity stunt now that I know who he really is, but it's all good. No politics here, but I used my faith to stand up for what I believed in, and it worked out just fine.
Great example. Great example. This is just, I don't know, this, you just continue to reinforce this belief that I have that we are all living way too small, that we are all playing within our abilities, and the real power, the real magic of this philosophy, the real power, the real magic of the Christian doctrine really comes when you step well outside of things that you physically know how to accomplish and go into this area that's beyond yourself. And, you know, just your stories have just demonstrated that for me. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you. So, Peter, what are some of the ahas that you have heard or felt during this show today?
Yeah, thanks, Ersula. Actually, I was just writing some notes down through this conversation. Actually, I think this was one of the cleanest, for lack of a better word, cleanest discussions, Dolores. So thank you so much for joining us. Some of the things that I wrote down, especially as it relates to exercising our faith, are, you know, making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people, making sure that you have those affirmations to help strengthen and support your faith. But also, as Dolores had mentioned, what are you reading? What are you reading that's also helping you to strengthen this? Two other things that this conversation helped me kind of make a connection with. Those of you who meditate, you know, oftentimes that with meditation, your mind can begin to wander during meditation. And you have to actively, intentionally bring your mind back to that meditative state, whether it's through breathing, focusing on your breaths, or focusing on what's going on deep inside of you. Faith is no different. Faith you have to work at. And sometimes our faith can get away from us. But what are you doing to bring it back? What are some of these things that Dolores has mentioned here that will help you bring your faith back and strengthen your faith again? And then lastly, love what Galen just mentioned there. And it's a quote that I know so well, especially as it relates to faith. And this is maybe for all of us. We're not playing big enough, right? Those of you who are watching, you are not playing big enough. What more can you be accomplishing in your life? You read about people who've accomplished great feats in life. That could be you. What more can you accomplish in life? And Dolores has given us some phenomenal examples. What more can you accomplish in life that you aren't thinking about, that faith will allow you to get there? And so, Ersula, yeah, that's what's on my mind right now.
Thank you, Peter. And Galen.
Yeah, you know, I've taken a lot of notes. I typically don't take notes during conversations like this because I want to stay engaged. But boy, you really got me thinking. And some of the things I wrote down is that we have to stand guard over our mind in order to develop faith. Faith isn't just going to come. We have to stand guard over our mind. The second thing I wrote down is surround yourself with people of faith. You've got to surround your people. You've got to surround yourself with people that will not only speak and reinforce what you believe, but that you can watch them stepping into their faith, that they can model faith for you. And then this is the one that stopped me in my tracks. You've got to be willing to apply these principles to your life. It's one thing to read the book and understand the principles intellectually. And I think maybe the first or second time you read it, you can kind of understand the principles intellectually. But the real magic comes when you start applying these principles to your life and testing the principles. Each time I read this book or lead a masterclass through this, I say, I'm trying to test Napoleon Hill. I'm trying to prove him wrong. I'm going to give him real challenges as it comes to my affirmation. And every time these principles prove to be true. So those are some of the things that I captured as notes. This has been an incredible, incredible blessing and conversation.
Well, thank you. May I just say, dreams don't come with age limits. Like Dr. Peter said, just think big. I mean, I don't know any other way to think. And when you think about, I wanted to start one of the first plus size modeling agencies in the country, people thought I was crazy. They're like, but then you can go back and see where we were in Essence and Marie Claire and work for Saks and all of that. So you can do it at any age. Listen, dreams don't come with age limits. I'm starting a new program called Confidence Redefined. Success comes in all sizes. And I am really going to work with women. I work with a lot of people, especially women, but men have it too. Imposter syndrome is when you don't feel good enough. You feel like you're a fraud. You're not a fraud. Imposter syndrome is real. I've dealt with it. But just think big. Do it. Don't sit there. Do not listen to us today and listen to this every Saturday morning and not take action. That just doesn't make sense. You're doing such a disservice to yourself if you do that.
Wow. Miss Ann?
Dolores, you just answered my question.
Oh,
I was going to ask the question. So what's next? But you answered that question, and you're reminding me of something that Napoleon Hill said, and Galen really teed it up. And Napoleon Hill said, greatness, which comes from faith. Greatness is the ability to first recognize the power of your own mind, embrace it, and then use it. And I think that is speaking to what you're currently doing as you activate your faith. I do coaching with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and I'm also an instructor. And one of the sessions that they asked me to do last year, about this time last year, was faith versus active faith. And you just hit the nail right on the head, because a lot of people have faith, and I'll go back to my early beginnings. My mom, people talked about faith and they quote the scripture and all of that. But when it came to acting on that faith, one of my aha moments from your comments today was faithmation. Faithmation. Affirmation that you renamed as your faithmation. And the other one, which you just mentioned, in fact, that dreams don't come with age limits. And then for you to now tee up and tell us what's next for you is this phenomenal idea, which you hit a soft spot for me and talk about confidence redefined. We host a confidence challenge, memorizing the self-confidence formula from Think and Grow Rich. And I would definitely be interested in talking with you aside from today about this confidence redefined, because again, everything starts with your faith. And like you've shared with us today, it means absolutely nothing if it's not active. So thank you so very much for joining us.
And Ann, I'm working on other things. I have started a nonprofit called She Elevates, which is a 501c3 that teaches little girls ages 8 to 14 to become entrepreneurs. We have an academy that's coming up in June. And pandemic, we were doing it in person, but when the pandemic happened in 2020, we started doing online. So little girls from all over the world can join into that academy. So I don't care how old I get. They said when you retire, I don't even know what retire is. All I know is that God has given me gifts, and I won't do a disservice to him by not sharing it to the world. And that's what I do, share it to the world and help people obtain extreme success. And little girls too. I can't tell you, their parents say they don't even recognize their daughters. They're like, they're so confident. They came there to start a business, but she's so confident she can just take over the world. So that's what we love. So that's sheelevates.org if anyone's interested for the little
I was going
girl.
to ask you, thank you, because I was going to ask you to share how people can connect with you, and Ersula is going to go around and do that. But thank you. She Elevate, but is that with an S.org?
Sheelevates.org.
Thank you. All right, Ersula.
Thank you. And that last conversation is what resonates with me as well. When you talk about age limits or not having an age limit, I think in terms of Mary McLeod Bethune, when she really came into her own, she was like in her 60s and whatever, and she started rocking and rolling at that point. And so that gives me a lot of courage and faith that it can be. And I look at the women in my family, they were older and they were still rocking. So I think, when I hear all of this and what I know from my own belief is that when you don't, or when you do allow age to be a limit, then sometimes it becomes the limit that takes you out of here. Because the people that don't have goals and don't have something that they're holding on to, they seem to just let go real quick. So I think this is life affirming for all of us. And there's also someone that had a question. What do you do when you fall off the faith wagon and need to get back at it?
Well, I haven't fallen off the faith wagon, but for those who may have, just get back on. Get back on. Don't look at your past. So many people are concerned about their past that they forget about their future. So you fell off the faith wagon, so be it. What I said before, stop it. Hop back on that faith wagon and keep it moving. And I'm doing that constantly because even I have a podcast. It's called the She Elevates Business Podcast. And I interview little entrepreneurs, girl entrepreneurs, as well as CEOs and women entrepreneurs. So if anyone's out there would like to be a guest, they can just contact us. You can also go to DoloresPresley.com or you can send an email, but you can just Google me. Go to my website. You can find all those different things about me. But yeah, just hop back on, girl. Hop back on.
All right. And with that note, on that note, just Google her because I'm telling you, you'll find a lot. So parting words. Well, I tell you what, first I'll ask my co-host to give their contact information and then we'll have a final word from you. Galen.
My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist. I'm founder of Kill Global Coaching and Consulting, and I help leaders bake permanent success into their work and life. And this has been an incredible show. I definitely encourage you guys to put these principles to work in your life, just as Dolores shared. Also, check out my new podcast called Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. We're having a lot of fun, and we're actually in 17 different countries already. And we just launched it in January. So definitely check that out and let us know how we can help you bake permanent success into your work and life.
All right. And Peter.
Yeah, again, great show. I got to echo what Galen just mentioned there. Great show today. Thank you so much again, Dolores, for your insight, for even sharing your journey with us. My name is Dr. Peter A. James, the high performance coach, CEO of HCG Consulting Solutions, encouraging you to shift your mindset. You can find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames. And I encourage you, sign up for my newsletter, my Monday Morning Minute. And I think the link to that will be in the chat.
Thank you. And to the Master Builder.
Yes. And Neil, you can reach me at annmcneil.com. But also, I would encourage you to text the word "and," that's ANN, at 55678 and get a copy of our 6 keys to riches. Text the word "and," that's ANN, at 55678. And of course, please subscribe to my YouTube. And I wanted to say to you, Dolores, one last thing. Thank you so very much for empowering another generation of girls.
Thank you. You are welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. And I'm Ersula Odom, the CEO of Sula Too, and we make old new in everything we do by capturing and preserving legacy information, anything from books to legacy walls to live performances. And you can reach me by going to my website, sulatoo.com, SULATOO.com, and contact me from there. And of course, I do want you to go to my YouTube channel and search for Sula, SULA, space TOO, and be a part of Wisdom and Young Legends, or the legendary stories of people that we've recorded. Join us. Now, back to our wonderful guests. How can they reach you again, and your parting words?
Yes, they can go to DoloresPresley.com, DoloresPresley.com, and sign up to get my marvelous life tips, how you can have this marvelous, marvelous life. My final words is that you are so worthy. You are more worthy than you've ever been taught to believe. And once you understand your worth, you will be paid your value.
Wow. Let that sink in. And we want to say thank you for a wonderful show.
It was my pleasure. I have enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And to our audience, thank you for joining us today, because you make it what it is. We do this for you as we do it for ourselves. So next week, we'll be right here at 8 o'clock. So join us again. And until that time, take care.